reduce the cost, of getting that gallon of gas to that forward operating base, using alternative fuels, biodiesel that we've talked about before, fuel cells, solar, using lightweight material in order to build the transportation devices that we use. So, part of it is it's good for the nation, but the driving force, it's good for us. It's good for that truck driver like Robin here, who is not going to have to go out and haul that fuel as often as she would have if we didn't embrace that type of technology and understand that we have to eliminate that dependency.
So, John, I know that, from your resume, that's really impressive, and thank you for your service, both of you. You've sat across the desk and asked people to do hard things. You've stood up and asked men and women in this country to do really difficult things. How hard is it to ask our lawmakers, and how hard is it for you to ask people now? You're asking them to do something simple. You've asked people to go into harm's way before knowing some of them might not come back. How do you make that pitch? This seems like something so easy. I mean, I would be irritated were I you to say, use less fuel to people. It's something so easy. It makes such a big difference. How do you do that?
Well, it's something that we believe in. There's been hard challenges before. This is a challenge. We've got a good rationale for our story. It's true. That's always...
That's a great rationale.
What Mark Twain said, never lie. Always tell the truth. That way you don't have to remember what you said.
Right.
So, in our case, what we're saying is what the truth is. And with that, I think it's a good story to tell, and we feel good telling it.
Do people ever argue with you?
People argue with us, but
do you just want to grab them by the throat and be like, I drove a truck through Baghdad?
Well,
why do you need to have the Ford compensator model, buddy? You could drive a little Toyota truck and get 30 miles to the gallon, and we're all going to think you're way cooler.
I would.
Try that.
Especially, when you see the yellow ribbon on the back of the Hummer. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating. But when people argue with me, I just try to be as civil as I can and lay the facts down on the table. And I think when you lay it all out for them and you tell them that we're totally vulnerable here in the United States because we're relying on one source of energy. It's the fact that we're funding both sides of the war. Which former CIA Director James Woolsey stated is the second time in American history, the first being the Civil War. Because every time we go to the gas pump, we're helping to fund terrorists that are shooting back at the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. The CIA, the Pentagon knows this. And it's the fact that climate change is going to be causing the conflicts of the future. And I think when you really lay it out, there's really not much for them to argue about. They can try to argue finances. Well, it's going to cost a lot. Well, like, John says, it's $400 a gallon. It's just unrealistic for us to continue on this path. And especially when we're spending $1 billion a day overseas for oil, when we could be spending that money here in the United States, shoring up our economy, creating jobs, because, the clean energy market is the one that's actually growing, and securing our energy future here in the United States. Because, I don't have children yet, but if I do someday, I want them to be able to have the American dream like everyone else. And they can do that if we do have clean homegrown energy.
And that story is getting resonance. I was watching a morning news show while I was here in Anchorage and had T. Boone Pickens on there. And T. Boone Pickens said the exact same thing about, hey, what we're doing now is we're funding both sides. Now, I don't really get into that because my ancestors were Confederates, but
that's right.
But T. Boone Pickens,
that's right. We did lose a
realizes
war.
Realizes that, and so that is people are really getting to understand that what we're doing in terms of the financing the bad guys.
Right, and fighting climate change is patriotic.
That's right.
And start calling it that. It's not just the terrorists, it's also climate change. Thank you both for being here so much. I so appreciated getting to talk to you, and thanks. We'll be right back. gosh, the sincerity of applause with a sign that says applause. I'll take it. I'm Shannon Moore. Welcome back to More Up North. I am thrilled that we have this really fun panel. Mike Mason is here, and he's come in from the Boondocks, basically. He's a BP whistleblower, spent years and years working in the oil fields of Alaska, and has, well, kind of become a rock star when it comes to getting information out about things that actually endanger Alaskans, and hopefully we're patching up some of that. Also, Alaska Dispatch Managing Editor Maya Nolan. Show the bling, let's get it out of the way. She's getting married!
Congratulations.
And it's kind of a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal.
It's a really big deal. It's going to be a pageant, actually.
It is.
It's wonderful. And Strategies 360 consultant David Shirtleff. In a former life was a Hardy Boy when I was playing Nancy Drew. I think we've actually done stakeouts together.
We have.
We have. And, you know, we watched all of the VICO trials and all of the Corrupt Bastards Club members go in and try to pretend like they were some sort of wonderful people and basically mocked them in court extensively. And covered it for the news, of course.
Yes, I wasn't there for fun.
In a responsible fashion.
Responsible, yeah.
Yeah, in a responsible fashion.
Responsibly.
No agenda.
Unbiased, absolutely. And we were staking out in the mornings. So we just watched retired Lieutenant General John Caslaw and Robin Eckstein come in. And what is your take? Here we have two people that have traveled to Alaska, both remarkable veterans, both who are saying, this is a national security measure for this country. Let's just not pretend. This is an oil state. It's an oil state. They pay you $1,000 a year so they can do whatever the hell they want, according to the Simpsons documentary on Alaska. Do you think that their message will resonate with Alaskans? Because so much of the time, you know, we've got a lot of military here as well. What do you think? What do you think? Were you just like in awe?
Yeah, these guys are incredible. I mean, it's really, for military terminology, a pretty unassailable position. I mean, these guys have been on the front lines of a war that is essentially about our addiction to foreign oil. And their perspective is a great one. We are an oil and gas state, that's fine. We likely will be for a long time, but we are also a state of veterans and of people of conscience and intelligent people that understand our threats to national security. So I know I certainly appreciate them coming up here and speaking so eloquently about the issue and hopefully really making a difference. This is a big deal, and it's something we actually have control over as a country. We really do, and hopefully we have the leadership in Congress to do something about it.
Right, this is something we can control. This is a variable that we have control over. Lisa Murkowski's run to the right because she's being drugged there by this Joe Miller Teabagger Express. I don't even know what that's all about. Maya, what do you think? Do you think Lisa Murkowski will come around on this?
I actually saw Lisa Murkowski recently. The National Women's Leadership Summit was held here in Anchorage, and I went to the last day, and it was, you know, it was a really cool event. There were women, a lot of women from Alaska, a lot of women from other places.
It was just a bunch of women. There was a pink cloud over the
exactly. There's so much
center.
estrogen, and like the air was sweet. But she spoke actually with Senator Maria Cantwell. So, you know,
who's a rock star.
So the scales were balanced. But it's interesting, you know, in that forum where the vibe was very like, let's cooperate and let's find solutions and, you know, let's work together. Senator Murkowski talked a lot about alternative energy. A lot about alternative energy and how, you know
what, you can talk about it till the cows come home.
Doing
with
something
their
about it is a
methane
different
toots
story.
or whatever they do in the field. But at the end of the day, as Mark Begich loves to say, if you don't vote that way, I don't give a rat's ass what you're talking about.
Well, and it's interesting to hear the difference in her rhetoric, I think, depending on what the audience is, because the audience that day was very attuned to the cooperative, let's work together, let's find solutions. We all like, Cantwell talked about the economy, Murkowski talked about the environment, and my head exploded. But
wear a helmet to
I
those
know,
events.
right? Exactly.
At least a tinfoil hat.
Exactly. But away from the, you know, the influence of the political structure, she was talking about Alaska's untapped potential for, you know, tidal, geothermal, hydro, wind.
And then we had Sean Parnell cut $25 million in renewable projects, which come with jobs, by the way, and cheaper energy. Mike, you've spent a lot of time in your life, you've made a living off of working in the oil fields. I want to know how the message hit you coming from these folks that had come up here who are both veterans. How did that, I mean, and let me just say, if you work in oil and gas, good for you. It's a good job. I want to make sure that you don't get blown up at work, and that's what Mike's been so instrumental in. But how did that come across to you?